Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 21 is officially here, and I'm going to break it down. So the chapter begins with a little bit of flashback, or a little reflection on Sarada's part. She's basically looking at all of the things that have influenced her up to this point. Whether it was omnipotence by Ada, causing the whole shift with Boruto, whether it's Naruto as the 7th Hokage, whether it was her father, whether it was her friendship with Sumire, whether it was all of these huge mix of things that all defined her, that kind of forced her into stuffing down her feelings, her true feelings, what she really wants and what she's really going for. And then it cuts to Sasuke talking to Boruto about Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan ability, why he believes in Boruto and why he can trust in Sarada's feelings and why he can trust her and her ability, and that it's going to be something that's going to be instinctive to her. It's not something that you can just it's not something she has to practice and get better at. It's something that she's just going to intuitively know. It's something that she's just going to be able to master right away. So then we cut to Sarada versus Ryu, and this is the part where everything starts going crazy. So we already know about the one black hole sphere that's sucking up all of the iron sand that Ryu is controlling, and Ryu starts going for the attack on Sarada now. And he thinks he has it all figured out. But then another sphere appears, and then another one, and then another one. And Ryu's suddenly whoa, what's going on? There's so many spheres. And Sarada's basically talking to herself I have to know who I am. I have to accept who I am to be who I want to be as the next Hokage. And as a Hokage, I can't have any doubts, or I can't hold in my feelings, or stuff down who I am. I have to be me. I have to believe in who I am and what I'm doing. And so Ryu starts trying to attack her, but now he's floating up into the air, and Mitsuki's looking at all of this, and he's basically it's gravitational force. It's she's able to control gravity, and she's able to pick and choose who floats up into the air and is pulled by the gravitational force of her spheres, of her black hole spheres. So now Ryu is floating up into the air. Sarada's floating up into the air. No sand is floating up. Not Mitsuki, not Arya, not Yodo. Nobody's floating up except for them. And we basically see that she's able to manipulate them all around her. And if you look at it, it's like a literal solar system surrounding her, where she's the sun, she's the center, and she can basically control everything inside of it. And now Ryu is desperately trying to fight, but before he can, Sarada enlarges one of the spheres and it pulls him in, crushing him, basically pulling him into it, and the ball is crushing his body, and he can't even move his finger. He tries to call out some claw grimes, and they get stuck. He can't move, he can't do anything. And Jura's interested in this. He's whoa, what's going on over here? He's seeing all of this happen, and he can't understand what's going on, you know what I'm saying? And now Ryu's on the last grip of his life here, you know what I mean? He can't really do anything. And Sarada's I have to accept myself in order to be Hokage. And being Hokage is something that I really want to be. And then she calls out her technique. It's Mangekyo Sharingan Ohirume. Ohirume? It's Ohirume. Mangekyo Sharingan Ohirume. And it's a really cool panel of her with the stars, or her eye in the background, and her floating in the air, and her black hole spheres all around her and stuff. It's really, really cool. And so then we get the next panel, which is Ryu screaming out in pain, and then boom, he's disintegrated, turns into sand. He's done. Sarada destroyed him, killed him right then and there. And now Sarada gently falls down, or she's falling from the sky, and Mitsuki grabs her and pulls her down. She used up all of her chakra, or a huge chunk of her chakra. Her eyes were bleeding, you know what I mean? Such a powerful technique and attack isn't easy or masterful at the first try, but you know what I mean? It drained her, so she's drained her chakra. And now Ryu's soul thorn bulb starts coming together and piecing together, and Mitsuki sees this and goes I have to go get that, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next for them. Then it cuts to Ada, Kashin Koji, and Boruto having a conversation about what Sarada just did. Ada's Sarada beat Ryu using her new Mangekyo Sharingan ability. This is crazy. This is amazing. You know what I mean? It's a shame about Yodo, though, that Yodo had to die before she could unleash this new technique. And Kashin Koji's like, yes, yes, but her sacrifice wasn't in vain. You know, very necessary. This is the key thing that we needed. We needed Sarada to awaken this technique. So it's a sacrifice and it sucks, but it was definitely necessary. And Boruto's like, wait, hold on, Kashin Koji. Tell me this. Was there a potential future where Yodo didn't die and Sarada still awakened the technique? And Kashin Koji looks at Boruto and is like, well, this is what I know for sure. If you jumped in right then and there, she wouldn't have awakened it at all. And then we wouldn't be anywhere as strong as we are right now. And Boruto's like, that's not what I asked you. And he's just like, you're not going to go in there, all right? You're going to calm down, and everything that has happened up until this point, I didn't need to tell you. And everything is going our way right now. So, because of that, I didn't feel the need to tell you that Yodo might get killed or not killed. And then Boruto starts asking the next question, what about Konohamaru? Is he going to be able to make it? Kashin Koji's like, you're not going over there, because if you go over there, Jura's going to come after you, and then everything's going to go downhill. You're going to possibly die. I've seen multiple instances of this at this point, and every single scenario ends with you and Jura fighting and him winning. So you're not going over there. And then Boruto, and then it cuts over to Konohamaru versus Matsuri. She's like half beaten up, right? Like she's cut in half, and she's like standing on her tendrils or whatever, and she's stabbing Konohamaru, and Konohamaru's just standing there taking it. You know what I mean? Like, come on, dude. And then finally, a shuriken gets thrown and hits Matsuri. And who is it? Boruto. He shows up on the scene, and it's implied that Mitsuki had a piece of metal that Boruto uses to use the flying Raijin. So because of that, he was able to teleport to them and then throw the shuriken to Matsuri and then show up right in front of her. And then Matsuri looks over her shoulder and she's like, Boru! And then that was the last thing she could say. Boruto slices right through her, breaks her like nothing, just cuts right through her into multiple pieces, saving Konohamaru, defeating Matsuri, and now Kashin Koji's like, this idiot! He's going into the battle, like, he's gonna ruin everything that we worked towards now. And then Jura's looking at all this and he goes like, now there you are, Boruto Otsutsuki. And that's where the chapter ends. And oh my goodness, so much happened in this chapter. We finally got a good glimpse at what Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan ability can do. We got some great character development for Sarada. She was able to fully, like, I don't know what the right word. She was able to fully accept herself, and like by not hiding her feelings anymore, she was kind of like hiding her abilities. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's like in Spider-Man 2, where like Peter isn't really sure of himself, or like he isn't really honest with what he wants, you know what I mean? And so he loses his powers. In the same way, she's not accepting herself, so she's not able to use her Mangekyo Sharingan ability. And there's no training at all, which is crazy. So she's just on the fly doing this right away. And then obviously Kashin Koji had to sacrifice Yodo so Sarada could learn this ability, which is upsetting, but it's kind of like a worthy sacrifice. Her death like progresses or makes Sarada stronger. So it's like good, but it's bad at the same time. And it's kind of putting a little bit like untrustworthiness between Kashin Koji and Boruto. And then Boruto defying Kashin Koji and going to help Konohamaru save him from Matsuri. And then that's going to lead to Jura showing up, and who knows what's going to happen after that. But it's pretty crazy to think about like how everything in this chapter is finally like piecing together from when we first started. So it's really cool to see that Boruto is on the scene, Sarada got a level up, and they defeated Matsuri and Ryu. You know, 2 Shinju down. And I obviously have no idea if they'll be gone forever or if Jura's going to take them back, and with Bug and Hidari, you know what I mean? So it's going to be really interesting to see what chapter 22 looks like. I know we already just got chapter 21, but I'm already looking forward to the next chapter. Obviously, I think Jura's going to show up, and then we'll see how that goes. But chapter 21 was crazy, really, really crazy. And it just level up, dude. A huge level up for Sarada, able to hold her own against the Shinju, and then Boruto showing up and saving Konohamaru, which is going to help build up their relationship. Hopefully, hopefully Konohamaru sees it as like a cool gesture of like friendship or like camaraderie, you know what I mean? He's gonna stop looking at Boruto as like this traitor and killer and start looking at him as like a real ally. And I don't know, we'll see what happens next chapter with Jura, but man, this was such a great chapter. Definitely hyped for the next chapter. It was so cool to see Boruto just slice through Matsuri. It was so quick, so easy, and then no hesitation, you know what I mean? So I thought that was really cool. And then Kashin Koji holding back all of the other potential futures and the directions that things could go in. Now, obviously, I don't know what he could have done to change that outcome, or like what would have happened if he like stepped in, or if Boruto did happen to join. So it's like, yes, there's a future that, you know, Yodo probably lived and everybody was okay, and Sarda still got the upgrade, but I feel like this direction was kind of like, I don't know, it was one of the potential things, you know what I mean? It's just any number of factors could have happened, and it's upsetting, but it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So chapter 21 breakdown, I think this chapter was so cool, had great character development for Sarada. It actually like gave her a huge upgrade and showed us what her Mangekyo Sharingan ability is. Ohirume, I really think it's cool. It's kind of like a solar system, and she's the sun in the middle. I think that's so cool. And then Boruto showing up and saving the day was also a real highlight. So next chapter, Jura's gonna come on the scene, and possibly Hidari and Bug, and we'll see what happens next. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah,